Tucked away in America's small towns are hidden jewels of history, stories of resilience, heritage, and legacy that shaped our nation. In Hopkins, South Carolina, I visited the Harriet Barber House, a powerful symbol of freedom built on land purchased by formerly enslaved humans. I explored its beginnings and the inspiring preservation effort led by Barber family descendants, keeping this history alive for future generations. This is part 1 of 2, so make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to be alerted about the next video. Peace. All right, so you just saw the original portion of the home, and now we're going to go into the addition with the other sister, Marie, who guided me in this morning from Columbia. I greatly appreciate you. Yeah. So now we're going to go into the addition of the home, correct?
Yes.
All right. And so this is open to the public. Are there certain set hours?
No, by appointment only.
By appointment only, okay.
Yeah.
And so I'll put the, everyone who's watching, I'll put their information in the description below of the, in the caption rather, and that way you'll be able to set an appointment for sure, get the contact information. All right, talk to us, sister.
Okay, well, we're in the, I guess, the first addition to the house, and this would have been a large bedroom. I remember the 2 big iron beds that were here, and where the petition is right there, that would have been the end of the room there.
Okay.
And then this is the oldest piece of furniture that we were able to move with the help of 3 men. But this is the wardrobe that belonged to our great-grandfather, Sam Barber.
Okay,
and
so this was something that you all know was tangible and was the
here,
property of your, okay.
Right, because our dad told us that he learned that they brought it up on a wagon from Kingville, which is where their first residence was. Okay. And this map and it's an early map of Richland County, where Kingville is, which is almost at the end of the county before you get into the Orangeburg County and also Kershaw County as well, and Sumter County, of course. I can't leave that out. Yeah, but this is the area. They used to call it a water town because of the access to the river, and before railroads came to Richland County, goods were transported by the Congaree River as well as the Wateree River. So Kingville was just in a perfect location.
Most definitely.
And the other thing we learned about Kingville was during emancipation, it turned out to be sort of a refugee station for the recently freed slaves because it was a hub of transportation, but it also offered opportunities for employment. They could work for the railroad because they were building the railroad from Charleston up to Columbia. Okay. So the first railroad depot was actually, and I'll show you a picture later, was actually in Kingville. Okay. So that's how a lot of the freed enslaved people ended up congregating there until they could earn enough money to move to other places. Some of them moved toward Columbia, and of course with the Great Migration, probably the earliest migration, they moved as far north as they could move.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, because I asked your sister, we were talking about a Virginia connection for your Barbers. So was Samuel brought here did he come here post-emancipation, or was he brought to South Carolina via enslavement? Or is that something that you all are still trying to...
We still don't know. Okay. But we did find evidence of his son, Sam Barber Jr., by accident, because luckily he served in the Union Army.
Oh, so his pension record has some stuff.
His pension record indicated he was born in Columbia, not in Kingville, not in Virginia. Huh. So they were in, well, somehow the son was in Columbia.
He was in Columbia.
And he was...
prior to the Civil War?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And he ended up, he was sold twice because the affidavit showed the names of 2 of his owners. And we had a cousin who worked for the Smithsonian a couple of years ago before the museum was built,
Yep.
because she became one of the principal fundraisers for that museum. But while in D.C., she was able to find the records, the pension records.
Those
And
are,
that was just a couple of years ago.
yeah. And
So
that's the beautiful
we
thing. You
learn
just keep finding something.
all the time. Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing. Yeah, people. I tell people all the time, the pension records hold so much information.
Yes. Yep. I just told a friend the other day that's what you need to look at. But you probably need to go to D.C. now to find it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So there's a beautiful table that's here.
Well, most of the
then-
furniture that you see in this room was donated, and we, of course, use this as a meeting space for our nonprofit organization.
Yeah.
So in addition to family reunions here, there are other meetings and events that take place on the property. Thanks to the Richland County Conservation Commission for funding our restoration project, and then, making it possible for us to host public events here.
Yeah, that's good. And when you come in, everyone, you'll see that there's a TV that's right there. Their nephew, did I get that right? Great nephew put together a video introduction piece that highlights the property, which was well done. And he did that some years ago when he was in school at Francis Marion, which is a university in South Carolina.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
All right, talk to me. Where are we going next?
Okay, now everybody always asks about this picture, but this was donated by one of our board members, Mr. Sampson Brown, and he was, I think, a friend of the artist. And at one time we had funding for a Memorial Day event every year because our county council representative made sure we had enough funds to do public events.
Sure.
So he donated this, which of course highlights the significance and the history of the Tuskegee Airmen. Yeah.
And there was a smokehouse that was on the property at one point, and so
Which is pictured by my sister.
Yeah.
She did.
oh, so you did this too? Another one? She's over there hiding. She's hiding all her talents. Did you make your clothing too?
No.
Okay.
No.
I gotta ask now. You know what I'm saying? And then there's also another award right here in 2022, y'all. Partner of the Month. Right. So they're racking up the awards as well. All right. Good.
Okay, now this room was basically furnished by the Hopkins High School Alumni Foundation because if you listen to the history of the Barber family, we've been in education a long time. And it started with our grandfather, who's pictured here.
Right here.
John Benjamin Barber. And we also have a picture of him you'll see later in front of the Hopkins School, which was one of many of the early schools in the Lower Richland area. And you can find this information on the South Carolina Archives and History website. And the Hopkins School, which is in the middle column there.
Right here.
Yeah.
Zoom in. It's right here.
Yes.
Yes. And these weren't Rosenwald. This one wasn't.
As far
was this
as
a
we
Rosenwald
know,
school?
they don't have any documented because my cousin who lives in D.C. and worked for the Smithsonian did some research on the Rosenwald schools. Now, there are some in Richland County, but as far as we know, none of them got funding in the Lower Richland area. So these are basically the early schools in the Lower Richland area.
And this really speaks to the testament of people making sure that their children get opportunities, because that means that they would have to fundraise and do things independently in order to have these schools up and everyone galvanized together to create
And now
these schools.
focus in on the first column and the second one down. That we believe
This
is
one?
the earliest one, yes.
Red
The
Hill?
one-room schoolhouse, which was on the site of the Red Hill Baptist Church, one of the early Baptist churches in the area. And we've learned that almost all of the churches in the Lower Richland area had a school associated with it.
Okay.
And we actually found records of some of the Barber children attending that school, believe it or not. Yeah, and I think the date on that document was 1870. And I need to have that posted here somewhere, but that was part of John Middleton's research when I found that. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's again, our connection to education, and it continues today.
Yeah.
Just in a different format. We try to incorporate technology now.
Yep. Yep.
Yes, but again, this is my grandfather, and this is our father here, who followed his father's career in education as a teacher, and then later principal, and then after a health issue, he went back to the classroom, had enough of being a principal, and retired after probably over 40 years.
Wow.
And this is the first child born to John and Mamie Barber, my dad's older sister. So she was the first of her generation to go into teaching.
Okay.
And then there's Aunt Mabel, who became a first grade teacher, again, over 40 years probably in the classroom as well.
And you all, obviously,
We're all retired teachers.
and so you all are teachers too. See, it runs in the family. What are some of your memories of these two people?
Well, she was our first grade teacher.
Okay.
She was everybody's first grade
She was
teacher in
everyone's
Hopkins.
first grade teacher.
And by the time, we knew Aunt Sella, she had already retired from teaching, but she taught at, I think that school is up here, the Clater School,
Okay.
which was right off of the Bluff Road that you
That I
traveled
came
down
in
on.
on. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, so education was it. Like,
Yes.
people, said, hey, our roots stem from a place in which education was not afforded, was outlawed, was not even legal, to now saying that we're going to take the bull by its horns and make sure that it's a staple in our
Exactly.
family. That's beautiful. Okay. All right, and then we have some other stuff over here.
Well, I want you to focus on this.
Okay.
This is our last award that
This
we
was in
received.
2023.
Yeah, and it is a state historic preservation award
Nice.
presented by the governor and the historic preservation commission, and also the South Carolina Archives and History.
And y'all have been racking up the awards. A true testament to hard work
Yes, yes, hard work.
and a labor of love. Yeah.
Now, as far as other houses, now we had a group from the University of South Carolina. Let me move this so you might have more light on it.
Yeah.
But after we completed the restoration project, the University of South Carolina had a summer conference for professors from across the country to tour Lower Richland. And they contacted us and wanted to know if they could stop by here. And the professor from the University of South Carolina who put it all together, Dr. Bob Wyneth, he's retired now, was so impressed with what history he learned that he said, well, I'm going to be back in touch with you. It's going to take me a while, but I want to do some research with my students in the Lower Richland area. So he spent the next year and a half working on this project with his graduate and undergraduate students. And what they did was research all of the African American landowners who purchased land like the Barbers did through the South Carolina Land Commission, created during Reconstruction to help the recently freed slaves to purchase land for the first time.
Okay.
So even though there are numerous families, and they're all listed in the back here, who attempted to purchase land, many of these families either could not make the payments or lost the land for one reason or another. So these are the original purchasers in Lower Richland County, page after page. Some of them tried to buy 2 lots.
Wow.
And out of all of these listed,
I feel like you're going to give me a low number that's not going to necessarily make me happy.
Okay, these are the ones who actually received deeds to their
To their
land.
land. Wow. Ashley, who's identified as one of the students,
You know
is
Ashley?
yeah. We're on the
Ashley Balknight.
yeah. We are on the Slave Dwelling Project
Oh, yeah.
board together.
Okay.
Yeah, she's in Columbia.
Yep. So these are the ones
These are
who
the
finally
ones.
got title. And unfortunately, yeah, and there's Harriet right there.
Yep.
See, not Sam, but
42
Harriet.
point. Is she one of the largest as it relates to the number of
No,
acres?
as you see, some of them had 2 lots.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's 2 lots. Okay. Wow. So so did he pass first?
Yes.
And so she just picked up the pieces and just kept that thing
Yeah,
going.
that's what my dad would say. She was the business head in the partnership
Yeah.
and took care of all the business of the farming and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, but they did a wonderful job pulling all of this together and even mapping the original parcel over the land
is
as it
now.
existed today.
Has there been anyone from the area that may be, dealing with some things as it relates to heirs property that have come to you all and have asked any questions?
No, our biggest issue is just developers trying to purchase or coerce people into selling their land so it can be developed.
Yeah.
We get letters every week. Are you ready to sell the Harriet Barber House property?
Wow.
But we said, no, not for another 100 years or so.
They're aggressive
Not
too.
interested. Yes, very aggressive.
Yeah. And so you all have various different events that occur here on the property.
Yes.
Can you talk about some of those?
Okay, well, at one time, we had a calendar of events that started actually in February. We had a Strong Threads event. One of our board members, Veronica Primus, came up with a celebration of Black history and culture. So we would do that. Her first several years, we did it right on the grounds of the Harriet Barber House here. And we would have African drumming and storytelling and, you name it, and displays and all of that. And then the next event would be Memorial Day in May to honor not just the members of the Barber family who served, but those in the community as well.
Okay.
And we actually had the Vietnam Memorial Wall for 2 years in a row, I think it was, yeah. And so again, we attracted a lot of tourists from all over the U.S.
Yes.
During that weekend. And after Memorial Day, we started with the Congaree National Park in 2003, developing a partnership to celebrate the state's only national park in Hopkins. And so
that's
since that
that's
time,
the only state.
yeah, we
Wow, I didn't
have
know
the
that.
only state park.
Okay.
And so we have other parks, but not a national
It's
park.
not a national park.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so with the help of community volunteers, 2 churches initially, St. John Baptist Church, which was founded by Sam Barber around 1875.
Sam's just involved in everything. I love it.
And so, another church, again, located right off of Bluff Road, Mount Nebo Baptist Church.
Okay.
The 2 churches together asked for volunteers who would, help put a celebration together because after all, there's a national park in our backyard.
Yeah.
So it grew from that, and we met initially with the first park superintendent there. And since that meeting, every year we plan that annual event. It grew so large. We did the first celebration right in the parking lot of the park.
Wow.
And so it grew larger every year. So it eventually moved here on the grounds. And then with the help of the Comet bus service, we provided a shuttle for the people coming to the national park or the people coming directly here. They could hop on the shuttle, go back and forth. And that has worked out well. So we've been doing that since. Luckily, our family had a collection of historic pictures, and we still have most of those pictures. And some of them had names on the back of them.
Okay.
Some did not.
Yeah, I'm stuck with that dilemma right now. I mean, I have so many pictures that we have, and a lot of them
Can't
don't have the
identify
names.
them.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And so I try to make it.
But we had Uncle Johnny.
Yeah.
We could scan the picture because we couldn't make a trip back and forth to
Detroit.
Detroit.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But we would scan a picture that did not have a name, and he would remember who the person was, and he could tell you a story about the person as well.
What year did he leave South Carolina?
Right after he joined the Navy,
Okay.
and then settled in Detroit along with two other brothers who were already there, because he was the youngest of the brothers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I see a key.
And
that's
my
in
dad,
there.
of course, was the only one who did not join the service. They didn't bother him because all the others had gone.
Yeah.
And somebody had to stay on the property.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he didn't live to see the Harriet Barber House completed, but it was his dream that we at least save the original 2 rooms, which is what we did.
Yep. So there's a key that's in here.
Yeah,
What
this
is
is
that
the
key?
year the Richland County School District, District 1, has an annual program to recognize graduates or people who worked in the district at any of the schools and made a significant contribution to their communities. And he was selected that year.
Okay.
Now, they don't do all of this anymore, but he received the key from the mayor of Columbia, key to the city,
Beautiful.
and that award as well.
And that was in 2006, and that's
Yes.
Ulysses.
And that was after he passed away.
Yeah. And this is your father.
Yeah.
Okay,
Let
so
me
this
go
is their
turn my
father.
phone off.
Yeah, no problem. Time has worn away some of the monuments to learning and living that blacks have built. Soon that past could be lost. But places like this, it's definitely making sure that that's not the case. Here are a couple of other things. Beautiful pictures of some kids at Hopkins High. It's really a treasure to have these pictures for sure.
Yes. And this is the young man who did the film.
Okay.
And yeah, I think he was 8 or 9 years old then.
Is he still in South Carolina?
Living right next door.
Oh, beautiful.
He works for the Columbia Police Department now.
Okay.
And this is a picture here. It's a little dark. Of my grandfather here.
Wow. That's John.
And that's John Benjamin
John
Walker.
Benjamin,
Yeah.
Okay.
Now there is a date on here.
46, 18.
You can see it.
No, 1940. 1940.
40,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
because
looks like
he
1940.
retired after the 40-41 school year,
Uh-huh.
and that's when my dad became the teaching principal there.
Okay. So when this house was going through the renovations, were there still things in the house?
Yeah,
That-
everything that, even those documents and the wedding certificate, they were all
That was
in
all
here.
still here.
Yeah, my grandfather had a secretary, and the drawers were filled with all of the artifacts.
Wow.
Yes, all the documents, even the the receipt for the final payment on the property. All of that just
still
folded
here.
up neatly in a drawer
Wow.
in the secretary.
That's
And we
amazing.
still have that secretary, but my sister has it at her house now.
Okay.
Oh, did you see our
Senate resolution.
Senate resolution?
Okay. Here we go.
And
This was in
that was an honor,
2011.
yeah. With we had Representative Joe Neal at that time, and of course Senator Darrell Jackson, responsible for making that happen. And that was after the publication of our book.
Yeah, I was just
After,
about to say, you talked to your sister about not talking about what she does. So, Miss Marie, you
I
also
can't, yeah,
have
I
your
can't.
own, right? And so and I don't know. Well, I see these like and sometimes
In
gas
every
stations, grocery
bookstore,
stores,
all the
bookstores,
Walmarts, yep,
Walmarts, Walgreens. I've seen
Walgreens.
it in Walgreens, and this is her creation, along with it looks like Deborah Scott
Yes,
Brooks,
she's a cousin.
cousin of hers. Yeah, and so make sure that you support that for sure if you want to learn more about brothers and sisters here in Richland County. Yeah. You know, I think that a lot of people, when you talk about South Carolina and history, that so many people automatically, of course, gravitate to Charleston, right?
Yes.
And rightfully so. You know what I'm saying? But it's these small enclaves also of places such as Orangeburg and such as Columbia and other places, Greenville as well, that also has a rich history. What does it feel like to know that you all's family is very intricate and continuously mending the fabric of what Black history looks like in the state of South Carolina, and that you have a direct hand in that?
Well, yeah, it really makes you feel proud, but it also makes you feel gratified that all of the work that went into it for years and years and years before you could even share it with the public, it all came together finally.
Sure did.
And there were so many people and organizations willing to help you make that dream a reality. So, yeah, it's a major accomplishment.
Do you all have a family cemetery, or is it
Well,
connected to a church?
as it is typical in the rural area, many of the families who worked on plantations, they were of course enslaved. Those plantations had they called them slave cemeteries. We have, and I hope you'll have time to go by on your way out. We can direct you there. What was called in my dad's time the slave cemetery, because many of the enslaved, especially those who served in
Civil War?
the Civil War, World War I, as well as World War II, were buried there.
Okay.
And this was, of course, before churches started having burial spaces at their church site. So there are many historic cemeteries throughout Richland County. The Chicora Foundation, which is another group that we have worked with. I don't think I have this is one of their cemeteries here. And with a grant from the Richland County Conservation Commission, we were able to do some documenting of cemeteries. Now, you see some of the ones pictured here actually had headstones. But with the kinds of instruments that they use with the Chicora Foundation, and I think there is a map included in here,
Yep.
they identified additional graves without markers.
Okay.
In fact, it was an additional 109, I believe, unmarked graves. And this is on private property. So we researched the owner of the property, got in touch with him. He was willing to let us go in to do the research.
Okay.
He was getting ready to sell it so that he could, I think he had a buyer interested in putting an auto parts company on the property. So what would have happened had we not intervened?
Yeah. What happens often,
Yes,
unfortunately.
yeah.
So, but the cemetery is protected now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
As far as
do
we
you all
know, I
have
haven't been
opportunity
there.
to go at any point now, or
We
do you
still
have to get
have
permission?
some requests, to go for various reasons. Sometimes, a family would want to see if their family is buried there because they may have lived out of the state or whatever. Because our first, I'll give you an example. Our first representative during Reconstruction, William Loman, was reportedly buried there. So that was really the reason why we went there in the first place,
Okay.
to see if we could get access and see if we could find, because serving in the legislature during Reconstruction,
Yeah.
you would think there would be a headstone.
You would think.
But we never
never
found.
found
He
it.
may have been one of the unmarked graves.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's just no way of knowing now.
Where are we headed next?
Okay, well, this is the end of the historic part, but
Okay.
we've finally got a bathroom added.
Added some restrooms.
And, you know, of course, with getting your building permits and all now, you got to have a bathroom that's handicap accessible.
Yeah.
This is a room for storage. I dare not open that door.
And,
and
kitchen.
yeah, this is a kitchen. But we have no stove or anything.
Yeah, okay,
that
the
would have been a
original.
diff.
It would have been outside for the original home,
Exactly.
right?
But
Just mentioning it.
yeah, but we can remember my grandmother sitting at this window in about this location. These are all new. The newest part of the house was in the worst shape during the restoration project.
Really?
Yeah, so pretty much most of this had to be rebuilt.
Okay.
But she would sit here, and at the table she'd be sipping her tea. She drank her tea like the British, with cream, not lemon. And so, you know, she could see anybody walking up the back porch coming in.
Yeah. And there's a lot of space out there too, y'all. I'm gonna step out back here in a second so you can see.
You could see. Yeah.
Yeah. This is amazing. You know, you just don't really see too many original structures that are still standing, of course, just due to whether it is the weather that has happened over time or development, or, you know, just people not able to to keep up with taxes or any of those different type of barriers that come through. But you all have definitely done an amazing job of that. And I just strongly encourage anyone that's in the lower Richland area to definitely come out. So if you can go to Charleston, and if you can go to those type of places, you definitely need to take a stop and come here as well. For both of you, and I always ask this question when I wrap up going to historical sites. What are the plans that you all would like to see going forward for the future, and just being here on the very grounds where your ancestors were able to create community? What does that mean for you all individually as well as a site in general?
Well, our biggest concern is the next generation, because we're not going to be here forever. You know, I'm 76 now, and she's 77, soon to be 78 in July. So we're trying to make sure that John, Mary's oldest grandson, my son Kendrick, Mary's grandson Kevin, who did the video, we want them totally immersed in the history so they can carry this on when we're gone. That's our biggest hope.
That's the biggest
so
hope.
that they can keep the history going and keep the home for history, you know, available to the family and to the public.
Yeah.
Yes.
What about you?
And I wholeheartedly agree. Basically, with what she says, it means so much. And not only does it help our family, other families who visit can see how possibly their ancestors started. So this is really just a representation of how things were and how people persevered right after slavery.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I just want to say thank you all for having me here today. This has been a very great experience. Like most places that I visit, when you have descendants that are just really hell-bent on saying that we won't be moved, you know what I'm saying? And that we just really embrace everything that had transpired previously, the good, bad, and the ugly as it relates to their family, but, you know, again, are very concrete in saying that this will not be moved. And so I greatly appreciate the opportunity to come out here and hang out with y'all.
Grant opportunities will keep coming.
Yes, we need grant opportunities to keep coming, for sure.
There's a restoration here and there over the years that's needed.
Yes, and y'all, it was supposed to rain today.
It's like the
the
sun
good
is coming
Lord
out.
and the ancestors was like, no, we're gonna come out and we're gonna hold that off for a while. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, again, I want to appreciate you all. I appreciate you all for allowing me to come out. And
It was a pleasure meeting you.
yeah. So that's another episode here with History Before Us. Please make sure to subscribe and share. And I'm going to leave information about this home as well as the upcoming events in October that you all have.
Right.
And Juneteenth.
And Juneteenth.
Juneteenth.
June 21st.
And there's a newsletter, so I will have all of that information in the description below. Peace and blessings.